Okay, hello class. So this video is about connective tissue. Just an intro. So connective tissue, what is it? What is a connective tissue? I'm abbreviating. These are tissue. Connective, the name tells you what it is. These are tissue that connects, binds, different organs and other types of tissues. Basically, connective tissue is the most commonly found tissue within the human body. If you look at all the organs systems within the human body, what type of tissue is basically comprising most of those organs, most of those systems? Connective tissue. This is also most diversified. There are varieties of connective tissue that look different, act different, and has all types of cells, etc. Most diversified type of tissue within the human body. There are some features, properties. Just like epithelial tissue has features, connective tissue also has some properties. The first property, which is different from epithelial tissue, is that connective tissue, the cells are placed apart, or you can say spaced apart. Cells never make contact with one another in connective tissue. So if we are to draw, let's say this is a sample of connective tissue, the cells would be like this, spaced apart. That means between the cells, there must be something that filling up the space, yes? There must be something present between those cells. So the substance that's present between the cells, we refer to that substance as intercellular matrix. So the second property of connective tissue is that connective tissue has intercellular matrix. This intercellular matrix is made of two components. One is ground substance. The other is interstitial fibers. This ground substance is could be made of different things. So as we move on a little bit and we talk about different types of connective tissue, you will see that the reason why we call this the most diversified tissue is because this tissue is made of a wide variety of substances, a wide variety of cells, and has diversified function. Unlike epithelial tissue, which is covering, lining, or glandular, connective tissue, depending on what it is, it could be of completely different set of functions. So it's highly diversified. So let's build on this ground substance and interstitial fibers. This ground substance is basically water and various types of salts. These salts could be mineralized, as in case of bone, or these salts could be dissolved, as in case of loose connective tissue, or these salts could be gel-like, as in case of cartilage. So the ground substance, based on what it contains, gel-like, chondroitin sulfate, or does it have hydroxyapatite in case of bone, or does it just have regular different ions, as in case of loose connective tissue? The interstitial fibers, there are three types, but we are studying mostly two. There are elastic fibers and collagen fibers. So connective tissue, the cells are spaced apart. Between the cells, you find intracellular matrix. Intercellular sometimes is also referred to as interstitial matrix within the tissue. That matrix is made of ground substance and interstitial fibers. The ground substance is varied. It could be with salts that are partly dissolved, meaning gel-like, fully dissolved, as in case of loose connective tissue, or mineralized, which means it's solidified, as in case of bone. The fibers are elastic fibers or collagen fibers. There's a third type, reticular fibers, but it's not as common. So we are studying these two for our class. Another property of the connective tissue is that they are highly vascular, meaning they have rich blood supply. There is no absolute in biology, so there is an exception to that rule. Exception is cartilage. Cartilages are connective tissue, but they are not vascular. They are avascular, without blood supply. All right, got this? Let's look at the types of connective tissue now. Depending on how the cells are, how close they are, what fills up the matrix, and what's the overall composition of the tissue? Is it gel-like? Is it liquid? Is it solidified? Based on that, there are varieties, many types of connective tissue. We can categorize them, group them as loose connective tissue, then dense connective tissue, then cartilage, which is gel-like connective tissue, then bone, which is mineralized connective tissue, and last but not the least, blood and lymph, which are fluidic connective tissue. So types: loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue, cartilage, gel-like connective tissue, bone, which is mineralized, and blood and lymph, fluidic connective tissue. Loose connective tissue is the most common. The two types of loose connective tissue that we are studying, learning for our class, there are three types, but we are studying two. One is known as areolar connective tissue. The other one is adipose connective tissue. There are two types of dense connective tissue: dense regular and dense irregular. This loose and dense. Why are we calling this loose and dense? Based on what's the ratio of ground substance versus fibers. Loose connective tissue, these two types, subtypes of loose connective tissue, basically there are more ground substance and less interstitial fibers, while the dense connective tissue are less ground substance, more interstitial fibers. Cartilage, gel-like because its matrix is gel-like. There are three types of cartilage, but we are studying one: hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage, and elastic cartilage, out of which we are only studying one sample, hyaline cartilage. Bone, the name tells you what it is: mineralized connective tissue. Two types of mineralized connective tissue, meaning two types of bone: compact bone and spongy bone. We are studying both. More in details the compact bone, less the spongy bone. Blood and lymph, we are not studying it for this semester. We will be studying this extensively in 145. So loose connective tissue, we are studying areolar and adipose. Although there is a third type, reticular. Dense connective tissue, which is dense regular, dense irregular. We are pretty much studying one, dense regular. Cartilage, three types: hyaline, fibroelastic, out of which we are studying one, hyaline. Bone, compact and spongy. We are studying both, but we are studying the compact bone more in details. The spongy bone, not as much. Blood and lymph, we are not studying this semester. We are keeping this for 145, where we discuss these two types of connective tissue in great details. So a quick recap: connective tissue is highly vascular connective tissue. The cells are spaced out or spaced apart. The intercellular space is filled with matrix or interstitial matrix. Matrix is made of ground substance and interstitial fibers. The consistency of the ground substance could be fluidic, could be gel-like, could be mineralized, giving rise to different types of connective tissue. The fibers are collagen and elastic. There is a third type, reticular. We are not studying that. Collagen and elastic. The ratio of the fiber versus matrix, ground substance, gives rise to the first two types of connective tissue. Loose connective tissue is called loose because it doesn't have as much fibers, as many fibers. So the matrix is a slightly loosely arranged. While the dense connective tissue basically has a lot more fibers, not as much ground substance, which makes the matrix dense. It's packed with fibers, interstitial fibers. Okay, so that's our intro to connective tissue. I would recommend that you read the textbook from 122, page number 122 to all the way 134. 122 to 134. I also have uploaded a file into the Canvas. You might want to download and use that for reference. Okay.